really trust us.
Marry my daughter.
Is she a prostitute?
The eyes of a dying giraffe can change a man.
We try make blood much big.
Happy birthday, Monkey Spanker. No, really trust us.
Hope you enjoyed the show.
Welcome to our 10th and very special episode of No Really Trust Us. Today we're going to deviate from our normal format. Normally, we like to talk about undiscovered gems of the indie and B-movie world that deserve to be lifted up. Today, we're going to talk about a movie that's actually pretty well known, but we still think deserves to maybe be lifted up a little bit. Because today we're going to talk about Ghostbusters 2. With me, as always, is Ken Cornwell and Matt, the Professor McNevin. Ken, introduce yourself to the people.
Hey, I am Ken Cornwell. I am a video producer and writer, a big movie fan. And, before my memory failed me, I used to be a walking IMDb. But it's a little tougher these days, but I do my best.
All right. And Professor, tell us about yourself.
All right, sucking the guts, guys. We're podcasters. All right.
There we go.
There you go. That's how you do it. All right.
Except that podcasters never suck in the guts.
That's true.
They don't have to.
We let the guts come out in the podcast. I'm Matt. I'm a video producer and sometime filmmaker. And Dedo, I gotta say, is one of the only people I've ever met in my life who can match me for Ghostbusters trivia. So this will be pretty exciting. So take it away, Dedo.
And for the record, I can only match him at Ghostbusters trivia. Any other movie, with the possible exception of Storm Swept, which will be our 100th episode.
That's a preview. There you go.
Is Professor has me housed. So I realized I didn't introduce myself. I am Dedo. I am a filmmaker, video editor, writer in DC with these other chuckleheads. And yeah, Ghostbusters 2 has always had a special place in my heart. I think because I loved Ghostbusters, but I was a little young. And Ghostbusters 2 came out at exactly the right time for young Dedo to really, really fall in love with the movie. One of the first cassette tapes I ever owned was the soundtrack. I mowed many a lawn to the sultry tunes of Bobby Brown.
Yeah, when we watched it together, Dedo, me, Ken, we all watched it together. And I was shocked at just how all the songs came back to me. Dedo and I were singing along to we knew all the lyrics to every damn song because both of us wore out that tape when it came out.
And we may have listened to the soundtrack on the way home.
Yes, also.
I didn't know that. That's
soundtrack
great.
Is available on Spotify. But also, in more recent days, I have just started a tradition of watching Ghostbusters 2 on New Year's Eve, because there are very few New Year's Eve movies that are worth a watch.
That's a thing, right? Because all these debates about what's a Christmas movie, what's not a Christmas movie.
Oh,
New Year's Eve,
now.
Yeah, New Year's Eve movies, not really as much of a thing, right? Nobody seems to care, which is, I guess, everybody's busy on New Year's Eve, so they don't want to watch a movie.
There's a couple. There's like a Seth Rogen one.
Yeah, there's
with,
a really
Anthony
terrible
Mackie, right?
Oh, really? Yeah. There's a really terrible Gary Marshall called New Year's Eve.
Part of his crappy ensemble comedy.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, is that like, did we watch that for the rom-com class we took? That sounds vaguely.
Maybe.
Why?
Maybe not. Maybe I'm hallucinating. I might be having a ChatGPT hallucination here.
Yeah.
Possible.
All right, well, we are already off subject, so good job, guys. That's record time.
Excellent.
All right, for those that need it, here is the synopsis of Ghostbusters 2, courtesy of IMDb, although with no accreditation this time. This is an incredibly anodyne synopsis. I love how bland this is. The discovery of a massive river of ectoplasm and a resurgence of spectral activity allows the staff of Ghostbusters to revive the business. Like, great job, guys. That is solid log line.
Really makes you want to watch it.
Yes. But as we all know, Ghostbusters 1 was a big hit. It spawned a cartoon TV show, action figures. I don't know if a comic book came out then or later. And eventually Ghostbusters 2 came out to very, very mixed reviews, but we think it deserves a little more appreciation than it got at the time and since. So, Ken, let's start with you. Tell us what you love about Ghostbusters 2.
Well,
Long pause.
no, so I'm gonna
That's great.
I am approaching this from a slightly different point of view than you guys because I loved the original Ghostbusters. I think I saw Ghostbusters 2 in the theater when it came out. I remember the Bobby Brown video being on MTV constantly because at the time I was a big MTV watcher and it was huge. But I don't have that same nostalgia. Like, I think that's the only time that I've seen it in the theater once when it came out. And I've never revisited it again until now. So, so for me, this was kind of a great new experience. I didn't remember almost anything about it, and I was very pleased with how much I liked it, especially the first half. I mean, I think the whole thing, the whole movie, I enjoyed and was good, but I was really surprised at how good the setup was in the first half of the movie, how they bring the characters back together, how they reintroduce everyone, how they kind of bring the characters together in kind of new, interesting combinations. So I think it really surprised me how good of a sequel it is, how many things it does right. And it's really a surprise because, the reputation, I mean, I think it has a growing reputation now, but at the time, it had such a bad reputation. Although I think it's a moneymaker, but it's really interesting, when you look back now, the movie's so much better than you would expect.
Yeah, and the chief architect of that negative reputation is probably Bill Murray. 'Cause he went on
Mm,
talk shows for years saying how much he didn't like it, and he was the main reason why there was not a Ghostbusters 3 while Harold Ramis was alive, because he didn't think he had a very good experience on 2 and didn't like the reception of it and didn't like the way the film turned out. So he was, always the holdout in terms of getting back to Ghostbusters. So
Which is
yeah.
both like horribly disappointing on the one hand, because it's like, how do you not like this movie? But also amazing that he's so good in it.
yeah,
Like he's
right,
Yeah.
he's what like Bill Murray is what made me love these movies.
Yeah.
right.
Although in hindsight, especially in the first one, I'm like, ooh, buddy, your
Little
your
sex
i-
pesty.
your idea of flirting is not aging well. But yeah, no, just is such that dry humor, that like those offhand comments, like, and it's like he's nailing the role. So it's like,
Yeah.
how could you have such disdain for this when you seem to be having so much fun?
Yeah. That
So
seems like it's such a classic Bill Murray reaction though, right?
Yeah.
To
yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so like you said, Ken, like the thing about the sequel is like one of the things I love about this movie is how, for the most part, it manages to hit all the notes again, but differently. There's a couple notes where it's like, all right, you guys could have tried a little harder. Like the whole Sigourney Weaver is the focal point of the supernatural stuff again. You at least kind of needed to hold a candle to that. You kind of had to at least say like, oh, you've still got resonance on the
mm,
PKE meter from Gozer, and that's why Vigo wants your baby.
That would have been interesting. Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
right. Like there's some easy fixes there, and it's like, and the whole like, now not only is she a world-class cellist, she's also good enough to restore a Gauguin, like not
Right.
just a painting, a Gauguin. Like
Yeah.
how talented
Yeah.
is this woman? No wonder she dumped Venkman. Like,
And that was something we talked about, that
yeah,
there were easy ways that they could have brought her back into the story
yeah,
as a cellist
right,
without
right,
having to go off on this whole angle where she's also now suddenly an art restorer.
right, right. But in all honesty, like this is probably my biggest thing. I wish that we had had a love interest for Ray, who is the heart of the Ghostbusters, and Venkman and Sigourney Weaver could have just been they could have just been happily or unhappily married. right?
Yeah.
It could have just been partnered up and like, she's now she has a different role with the Ghostbusters or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But that's minor. But like, it's like everything else though, it's like, all right, we need a big bad, but it's gonna be completely different than the last time. Right? We need a new weird nerdy guy. Okay,
Mm.
he's gonna be completely different. This time he actually is a creep. He's not just an awkward guy. Like this guy actually is creepy, right? We're gonna have a giant thing walk through the city, but it's not a bad thing this time. It's a good thing. Like they just, they kept nailing that where it's like you get what you expect, but it's different. And I think
Yeah.
that deserves a lot more credit. Most sequels just do it again. So,
Yeah,
but
and that was the critical reception, Ditto, that they got dinged for, was just doing it again. A lot of critics,
right.
and I don't know if you've seen the Siskel and Ebert review, but it's available on YouTube. It's only like 5 minutes long. It's worth checking out. That's what they didn't like it, and that's what they didn't like. They didn't feel that they tried hard enough. And from a screenplay standpoint, really, almost every scene has an antecedent in the first film. It's kind of that kind of thing. But I agree, Ditto. Like it's a little more thought out than that. And what I really like is I really like the central metaphor of the slime. I thought that
Mhm.
was a cool idea, and I think we talked about this when we were watching it. It's an idea actually that probably gains more resonance today with like social media being a cesspool. It's like if anything's going to create a river of slime, it's like we're,
Right.
we're living in a river of slime.
But it's also
Pretty
it's
much.
also such a great time capsule for that point in New York, where New York was considered to be this like
Yeah,
very mean,
porno theaters on
miserable
Times Square and
place.
all that stuff.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
like that's another thing I love about it. And so, now seems like a good time to bring up. I stumbled across the Ghostbusters: The Ultimate Visual History, written by Daniel Wallace. And one of the things they talk about is when they finally got serious about making the second movie, and there's a whole history there. They're like, okay, cool, Dan Aykroyd, let's work on a script. And he immediately was like, went to his weird shit again. And apparently, the very first draft had them going to Scotland and fighting fairies. And Dana and Venkman had a kid, but it had superhuman reflexes because Dan Aykroyd just had this idea that that would be weird and fun. And then eventually they're like, oh, wait, New York is really important to this movie.
Yeah.
We should set this in New York. And I think they scrapped pretty much everything
Yeah,
in that
and
first
that in a
draft.
nutshell is kind of the issue with the sequel, or really any sequel at this scale, and especially what happened here with all the studio politics and all the background of it, which is like they start out like exactly what you said, like let's do something different, let's do something fun, let's do something that people won't expect, and then slowly but surely, or quickly in this case, that just gets beaten out of it. Either because of budget or because of executive politics or because of pressure or whatever. And we did just like, oh, well, let's do this because it's easier, or let's do this because it's cheaper, or let's do this because it's what we can do. So that seems to happen a lot with sequel development over and over, where you
Yeah.
kind of start out with the creators really want to try something, and they're just not encouraged along that line, whether through
Yeah.
budget or through studio politics, and eventually it just gets watered down and watered down and watered down until finally all they're left with is, well, how can we do a variation on what we already did,
Yeah.
basically,
Right.
because that's
Well,
what people want.
sequels are hard, right? Because you're walking a fine line. You want to do something different, but you also want to do something that is reminiscent of the first movie, that you know b- gives people what they loved about the first movie, and it's really hard to do both. Like it's a
Comedy
difficult
sequels,
task.
especially, are
Yeah.
difficult.
It's
Maybe
like
the
it's
hardest
like
sequel to do, because comedy depends so much on the unexpected and being surprised. A sequel by nature is not going to do that. So you've
yeah.
got to figure out, how do I surprise people and make you laugh, but not be too far afield to make you weird.
Right,
Essentially.
right, right. Yeah, because it's like it's such a fine line between continuing the story
Yeah.
and retelling the story.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
And,
Right. Right.
you got to give people what they love about the first one, but in a new way. And
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
Ghostbusters 2 does that so much better than a lot of sequels out there.
Yeah. Not to mention that the first Ghostbusters is maybe, perhaps in the history of cinema, I would say, one of the ultimate examples of lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
in the sense of like that is not going to happen twice where you have everybody in their careers at just the right point, they're just the right amount of inspired, they're working together really well, and you turn on the camera and it's just magic, and getting them back together again is not necessarily going to make that happen,
Right.
which you see kind of over and over again, especially with comedy sequels where you get everybody back for Anchorman 2 and it just kind of lays there. It's
Right.
like, it's not that they're less funny or that they're any less talented. It's just that, the magic's just not there and you can't make it happen no matter how hard you try.
Although I will say that some of the magic was there because my favorite thing about Ghostbusters is the camaraderie between the three dudes, and then Winston gets added in and becomes the fourth musketeer. And I do think you do get that in the second one. And it would have been nowadays, the movie would have started and it would have been the same where like Ghostbusters is bankrupt, but they all would have been mad at each other.
Yeah.
And we would have had to do a
Right.
whole arc about them forgiving each other. And here it's just like, no, they're still palling around. They're still hanging out. Ray is still buying Vankman his ethically questionable magic books. They're working together, right? And then there's those scenes like the scene with the toaster and the slime is like so good. Like they're riffing off each other. Or the moment where Ray and Egon are debating what to get for dinner, and they're just like Thai,
Yeah.
Mexican,
Yeah.
and it's like
Yeah.
these are friends. These are people who are friends.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that
This
is what makes me love these movies so much.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is one of the rare examples where the magic did happen again. Because the chemistry is so good between them.
Yeah, it's certainly not I would say it's not lightning in a bottle. It's a strong current. It's
Well, I think that
120 volts in a bottle.
Yeah, I think that speaks to something that I really wanted to talk about, which is built into the DNA of Ghostbusters, the first two, certainly, and why the original Ghostbusters and to a certain extent the second one work, and the 2016 one, for example, doesn't, which is, and this is from the commentary track on the first Ghostbusters DVD and Blu-ray, where Harold Ramis talks a bit about how the first film was made with Second City principles, like Second City improv principles, because a lot of these guys all came out of Chicago, and the DNA of Saturday Night Live is also in the Lemming shows and the National Lampoon shows, and also the Second City improv troops who fed that show and fed that ethos. And what Second City principles meant was that what was important to Ramis and to everybody was to, if you make the guy next to you look good, you're going to look good. So it's more about kind of outward improvisation where you're trying to see what the other person needs and trying to help them make them look good, as opposed to scoring laughs for yourself. As opposed to the 2016 version, which is kind of made with sort of more Judd Apatow kind of principles, which are not, not that they're bad or that they're any less, they're just different. Because in all the Judd Apatow movies, you'll see that there's a DVD feature called Linorama, and it's just an endless, outtake reel of all the lines that they threw out during the shooting, essentially. But what that very much indicates is that's not a very Second City style, right? That's all about how many lines can I throw out for me to get the laugh, and less about the ensemble and more about the individual sticking out. And what you just talked about, Dedo, that's essential to Ghostbusters, is this camaraderie, this interaction, this improving together to create something together. And it doesn't matter if I scored the line. In fact, many times when they were writing on the set, they would give lines to each other. Aykroyd would write a line and be like, oh, that's a Bill Murray line, let's have him say this. Or, oh, that's a really good Egon line, Harold, why don't you say that? As opposed to trying to score lines themselves. And what that leads to is it leads to that camaraderie. It leads to people listening to each other more in the moment, as opposed to tuning the other person out and trying to think of lines, which you can sometimes see, especially in the 2016 version and in other those types of films. You just see that the improvisers are just not listening to each other, and you don't get that at all in the first two Ghostbusters. They're definitely there together and playing off each other in a way that you can tell these guys have known each other, they like each other, they've been on stage together a lot. They, really kind of had that camaraderie that you can't fake. And that comes from the philosophy of how they put it together, which I think is a pretty underrated part of the Ghostbusters films essentially,
Yeah.
and something that I think a lot of the later franchise and the imitators kind of miss, which is kind of important.
And then on top of that, you have this fantastic supporting cast
Yeah,
who
of all
all
stars.
who all also like know when to steal the limelight and when not to. And like,
Yeah.
especially in the second one, the number of times that Sigourney Weaver just goes and moves on and like just like, and it's like, yeah, this is a
Yeah.
woman who is used to these clowns,
Right.
and she's just like,
Yeah.
we're just going to ignore that, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. And Annie
Yeah.
Potts gets more to do.
yep.
Yeah, that's a plot. The new things I think really work the best. I think in terms of Janusz Poha as a character works really well and always made me laugh every time he spoke when I saw it originally.
So
Just
funny.
made me laugh every time.
Yep.
Which apparently his accent is inspired by Meryl Streep's in Sophie's Choice, which I thought was a really great
That's
little
awesome.
tidbit because
And also-
he was in Sophie's Choice with her. So
According to Peter Nichols himself in my magic book, that's all him.
The character was named Jason in the
Yeah.
original.
Yeah, the
script.
character was just a normal white dude, and he just kept going with it. And
But
Wow.
story wise, it's actually a really smart choice
oh
for
yeah, it
him up
makes
with
so
that
much more
because
sense.
Yeah.
he's Carpathian, right? He's
Yeah.
he's Romanian, so he would he has a connection to Vigo in a way
Yeah,
that he wouldn't have had otherwise.
although they never
So I think
actually
that's a good
say
choice.
that, which is funny too.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
I mean,
have
you
the
kind
one-
of get it, like
Yeah.
you kind of assume that's the case.
Yeah.
But
Like you have that one line where they're like, where the hell are you from? Up on the east side.
yeah.
But he does say
Yeah.
in the interview that he's like, yeah, no, I decided he should be Carpathian, and which makes total sense because then
So
he would
smart.
be seduced immediately. Because that
Yeah.
is another thing I love about it. There's no hesitation in him.
Right.
Like he just goes, yes, command me, Lord. Like he's instantly on board. Like I love that. Like, you don't need to worry about feeling sorry for this guy.
Not wasting any screen time on that, moral quandary stuff.
Yeah. That was another big takeaway from this book. It was really interesting how much they cut from
Yeah.
the movie.
The
And stuff,
the production was kind of chaotic
yeah,
in terms
stuff
of
they actually shot that they cut. Like apparently there was an entire subplot of Lewis Tully trying to be a Ghostbuster.
Oh.
And he keeps putting on the proton pack and keeps having run-ins with Slimer, trying to capture Slimer. And then eventually they become friends. And all they kept was that one little bit where he sees Slimer and then the bus thing. And apparently even the bus scene was bigger than that. The bus scene was supposed to be a whole thing where Slimer gets off the bus and gives him a pep talk. So
wow. So that would make a better payoff when he fires the proton pack and the slime comes off, right?
But honestly, I thought it was a good proton pack as it was. Like you didn't need all that. You knew, of course, this guy wants to be a Ghostbuster because he turned into a dog and they helped him. Like why wouldn't you?
That's right.
Why wouldn't you want to do that?
Yeah, the whole ending was reshot. Like the last 25 minutes, like they did a lot of several test screenings that went very badly of people being confused because they weren't quite understanding the connection between the slime and the ghosts and everything and Vigo, that whole thing. So a lot of it was reshot to clarify it and to make it work. As Reitman said, there's a quote from Ivan Reitman somewhere where he says they showed the ending and the ending just laid there and died. That's what he said. So they had to completely reshoot it.
And apparently too, I think basically in the first version there was only one round with Vigo. The Ghostbusters basically come in, they blast him, and that's it. And they said they had torn down that whole set. So they had they had to rebuild the set.
Whoa.
That was another really interesting takeaway from this book. Way more of this movie was shot on soundstage than I realized.
Interesting.
Bankman's apartment is soundstage, which blew me away because I was like, that looks like such an authentic New York apartment. So they did a great job there.
Yeah.
And there's no actual New York Museum of Modern Art or whatever it is they call wherever she's working.
Yeah.
So they shot it in an actual building, but then they did a bunch on the soundstage.
Well, the production design, I think, is an underrated part of the first one, too.
Yeah.
Because they hired a production designer named John DeCure, who was a famous production designer at the time. He did a lot of pretty much all the Roman epics from like the 50s and 60s. He designed or had a hand in designing. So he was kind of an older guy. He was very expensive, but what he did just in terms of setting the look of the film only, but also, and what you're talking about, Ditto, of like so much that was built that you don't know. Like at the very end when they're cutting between establishing shots that they shot in New York City of the front of the building and a back lot where they have the mechanics that can rip the street apart, right, and the front of the facade of the building, and the fact that you can't tell what was shot, aside from the effects happening, really,
Right.
but the look of it looks identical to where they shot it. That recreation, like, and that's a craft of production design that I think is overlooked, of like that seamlessness between replicating real life versus a soundstage, that I don't think is recognized enough, and I think that is a great example of it. You see it in the second one of all the production design done to make it feel real and feel lived in.
Yeah, absolutely. And then also all the stuff with like the slime and like they recreated that subway tunnel,
Right.
the tile, and I guess they hand cut every single tile, and like
Wow.
just this book is amazing because it's just like you forget how much work used to go into this stuff.
Yeah, and Ditto, I mentioned before we started recording, you brought up a great point about just how just like a tossed off line in the script equals a shit ton of work that
Yeah.
somebody has to do. Like that's a good example. Like, well, we have this. That was a reshoot too of the slime tunnel thing. So they got to build this so that it looks like a subway tunnel, and it's
Right.
just a tossed off thing that they got to do in 2 days or whatever, which is insane.
Yeah.
Um. So yeah. So where we want to go from here?
So we'll edit that part out.
Yeah, we're gonna.
So, question maybe for you, Professor.
Yeah.
The reaction to the movie at the time, at least critically, was pretty bad. Interestingly, I looked up the cinema score and it was an A minus. So audiences liked it.
Right.
Critics didn't like it. It had a lot of bad buzz and was a kind of a troubled behind the scenes.
Very much
and I
so.
think you know some stuff about this.
Yeah, I mean, all of that was colored, by the development of this, which did spill out into kind of mainstream coverage. This is right around the time, kind of early to mid 80s is right when kind of quote unquote film industry stories started getting mainstream coverage, which was kind of started by Heaven's Gate. When Heaven's Gate had its disastrous production and release and just became one of the biggest bombs, so big a bomb that it destroyed United Artists basically and basically bankrupted the studio, which nobody thought that was possible. Nobody thought one film could bankrupt the whole studio, but it did. And so that became popular. So ever since then, more and more like industry stories kind of blowing up. And since Ghostbusters was a huge film and there was a lot of interest around it, people started sniffing around about like, hey, where's the sequel? What's going to happen with the sequel? So anytime there was a little movement on the sequel, it got coverage. And the backstage politics of it essentially were what happens with a lot of studio politics, where a new regime comes in. So Columbia had a whole new kind of leadership come in. David Putnam took over for Frank Price. Frank Price was the guy who greenlit Ghostbusters. So what you have is you have egos involved, where if he just greenlights the sequel, they get credit for it, right? That's not his film, right? He had nothing to do with it aside from just inheriting it. So he wants to put his stamp on it. And he didn't like Ghostbusters very much. He was pissed off at Bill Murray because he was being a pain in the ass. So there was a rumor that he wanted to do it, but recast some of the parts, which he says never happened, but who knows, because that was a story. So you have all these egos involved. And now, of course, because the first one's so successful, the people who created it have more power. So, and Murray's becoming a bigger and bigger star. Dan Aykroyd has his own star rising, although he had some bombs that he had to deal with. Harold Ramis was becoming a big Hollywood player, and Ivan Reitman, of course, now responsible for two of the biggest comedies of all time in Animal House. He produced Animal House, didn't direct it, but produced Animal House and directed Ghostbusters. So he's a huge guy now. So you have kind of the Indiana Jones 4 problem, where you have these huge egos, and they all have to agree. They all have to agree on what the approach is. And if one of them says no, you got to kind of start over, or you got to work on them until they say yes. And that's basically what happened. Is like, as I said before, they tried to start out doing something a little different, and then through politics and through just other people trying to say, I don't want to do that, let's do something else, and it just gets beaten down and beaten down until finally, 4 or 5 people have to say, all right, fine, let's do it, and then they do it, and it's not as exciting as they hoped it would be, and you kind of feel that. I mean, I agree that Ghostbusters 2 is kind of a little more maligned than it should be, but there is the kind of, you do kind of feel the spark of inspiration a little dulled, or a little it's kind of snuffed out a little bit from the first one, where the first one feels so exciting, and and they're charged up for it, and the second one does feel a little maybe a little rote.
Which is natural because the
Yeah.
sequel's never going to be as exciting as
No,
the
it's
original.
not.
It's just
By definition.
part
yeah.
of the by definition, right?
One of
Two
the
at the-
other. Oh, I was going to say just one last thought there. One of the other really interesting tidbits from this book was that one of the problems they encountered when trying to figure out what they want to do for the sequel was they felt like the cartoon had really taken a lot of great ideas.
Oh, interesting.
And they were like, what are we going to do? Like, this cartoon's been running for a while now.
Yeah.
And I do wonder if, like, maybe we would have had a more interesting sequel if the cartoon hadn't already done the cool stuff, like go into the trap, the containment unit, and,
Right. That's a really good point.
But
Can we
it's
talk about
not-
that for a second? Can we talk about the effect of the cartoon on this film? Because it is kind of a significant thing.
Yeah.
How big into the cartoon were you, Deb? I assume you were pretty big into it, right?
Oh, I love it. Huge.
Yeah. Huge.
And also, like, I don't think children of this age or I don't think they appreciate how frustrating cartoons were, because like they were they weren't serialized, but they had a certain order to them, right? And they always showed the dumbest episodes. And they almost never showed the good episodes. And you just didn't know. Like, they didn't show them in order. Like, I don't know what the rhyme or reason was, but whether it was Transformers or G.I. Joe or Ghostbusters, like, trying to catch that episode of the Dinobots on Transformers was virtually impossible, right?
Yeah.
And
They just didn't care. They
Well,
thought it's kids. Kids aren't going to notice.
I mean, that's the honestly the most optimistic. The more cynical one is they knew that like they wanted to keep kids watching, and they wanted you to tune in every day to like hope it's gonna be the cool Samhain Ghostbusters movie or show, and not the dumb Slimer episode. But
and as we mentioned when we watched it, the cartoon is the reason why the second Ghostbusters car is the Ecto 1A and not the Ecto 2. Because the reason why it's called that is because the Ecto 2 was from the cartoon, which was a helicopter. So the helicopter on the cartoon was called the Ecto 2. And to match canon, they had to call it the Ecto 1A.
According to the book, there are shots in the movie where the car has Ecto 2 on its license plate.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So that was maybe a reshoot, perhaps.
When I do my New Year's Eve rewatch, I will have to see if I can verify that.
See if you can find it frame by frame and just see if you can find it. The other thing that I think maybe because of the success or because of the cartoon maybe had an influence on the tone, because it's a much more family friendly film. Whereas the first one, there's no ghost oral sex jokes in this one. It's like a much more, the first one had a much more kind of adult sensibility, and this one had a much more kiddie friendly sensibility. And I think part of the reception was attributed to that as well, of people who were maybe a little older who were fans of the first one and were expecting something a little more adult and got something a little more kid friendly. Whereas me being kind of right around the right age for it, it was perfect for me, because I'm like, this is what I want.
Which also, that is the path of every successful 80s movie, right? It's just the only difference is that Ghostbusters was PG in the first place, but like Rambo, RoboCop, like they all started as these.
They all like cartoons too,
and they got and they got kiddier and kiddier as it went.
R-rated cartoons.
Yeah. I wonder too if there was an issue with this being the end of the 80s. The 80s were the era of the sequel.
Yeah.
There was probably some sequelitis fatigue,
Certainly.
sequel fatigue going on at this point.
Well, it's
Uh,
interesting just in terms of that's a really good point, Ken, because actually 89 is a really, if you want to look at the history of like, American cinema and marketing and everything, 89 is a real turning point in terms of cultural zeitgeist and in terms of where the business is going to move. Because it's significant to mention that Ghostbusters 2 opens 1 week before Batman, which was, they originally wanted to open Ghostbusters 2 July 4th, but they bumped it up. They wanted to bump it up to the 23rd. Then Warner Brothers announces Batman comes out the 23rd, and they were like, hell no. So let's push it up a week. And that's part of the reception, too, of Ghostbusters 2, which is like Ghostbusters 2 comes out a week before. It does well financially, but doesn't do well receptionally. Batman comes out and it's wiped away. Like nobody talks about Ghostbusters 2 that summer at all. It's all about Batman. And from a box office standpoint, Batman's the big winner that year, number one. And if you look back at the history of number one box office movies for the year, do you guys want to guess at all? We can play a little game. Do you want to guess what the number one worldwide box office film for 1988 was?
1988.
Yeah, year before.
When Harry Met Sally.
That was 89. But
Damn it.
you're on the right track, Ditto. The answer is Rain Man, which is,
Oh.
can you today imagine huge number one blockbuster being a two-hander drama that wins Best Picture?
The
That's just
industry
not
has
going to happen.
changed so much now.
Yeah, so 89 is kind of when the comic book kind of blockbuster and that kind of blockbuster sensibility really starts to take hold, and that's the last time that ever happens. If you look at the rest of the, all the way up to today, the number one box office movie is never a film like Rain Man ever again. Until now, we're at the point where it's hard for those films to even get made, let alone do well at the box office. Where Rain Man happens today, it doesn't get made, or it becomes a streaming movie,
Well,
so it's a real kind of significant change that year in terms of box office.
Two great little tidbits from my magic book. Number one, in reference to Ken's theory about sequelitis. So the chapter on Ghostbusters 2 actually opens with, "It's not going to be called Ghostbusters 2, promised Bill Murray in March 1989. We'll burn in hell if we call it Ghostbusters 2. I've suggested the last of the Ghostbusters to make sure there won't be anything like a Ghostbusters 3. So I thought that was hilarious because clearly Bill Murray was wrong. But then
I was none too happy either.
Or overruled.
Yeah. But to your point, Professor, about blockbusters, is that another really cool bit later on about the special effects is Ghostbusters 2 is the last movie that ILM did that had zero digital effects.
Oh.
Interesting.
And at the same time as they're working on Ghostbusters 2, they're working on The Abyss down the hall. And
also that same summer, or not the same summer, it came out in Thanksgiving. It was supposed to come out in summer, but got pushed back to come out in November, was Back to the Future Part 2, which has among the first digital effects that ILM did. They did wire removal on the hoverboards, which was one of the first digital effects that they did for a film. So yeah, we're in an interesting transition time too from effects as well.
Yeah.
Where digital is about to kind of overtake everything within a few short years, which certainly, and one thing that the first film is legacy is their effects weren't as great as they could have been because they were so rushed in making it. And it's funny that they didn't really learn that lesson because Ghostbusters 2 was rushed even more than the first one. Which you'd think you'd learn that lesson, but
I will say overall, I feel like the effects hold up. Like,
yeah, I think so.
You know, like
Yeah.
you look at Highlander with some of the lightning effects, and you're like, oh, you just drew that with a pen, Whereas like here, the proton packs are pretty legit, and like they were using explosive rope in the walls that was going off as the guys are waving their proton guns around, and then they're matching that to the,
Yeah. I mean, I think part of it is that those practical effects just age better in general.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So they're always going to look
actually
better.
there. Right.
Another great tidbit is the same actor who played, he was the Statue of Liberty because he was really tall and skinny. He also plays one of the Scoleri brothers, the skinny one, and he is the jogging ghost in the montage.
Wow,
I
interesting.
just thought that was cool. Like, and I'm
Yeah.
sure that I mean, I know that stuff happens all the time.
Yeah.
You just rarely get it flagged. But and
He was
wasn't
the Doug Jones of that era.
he
Just
wasn't
tall and
supposed to be
thin.
all those things. I think he was hired just for the Scolari role, and then got these other gigs, these other roles. But that's the other thing is like you don't even think about that. You see the Scolari brother effects, and you're just like you just don't think about how they made that. You're like, oh, it's probably stop motion, or it's like no, those are dudes in prosthetics, filmed and then added in post, so they're flying around the room and they're doing all sorts of other crazy effects to them and stuff like that. But those are dudes in makeup. Like that's
Yeah.
they have a whole thing about
On
how
a
like,
miniature stage,
then they have these complicated prosthetic machines that like make the faces look bigger and crazy and stuff like that. It's just mind-boggling how much work went into all this stuff that you just don't think about nowadays, because nowadays you're just like, I'll do a 3D model of the head and I'll do whatever I want with it,
Right,
It's
right.
it's that's really nuts to me. So
Yeah. That's pretty amazing. And yeah, and you can also like just capture magical moments that you wouldn't have gotten ordinarily just because of the way the makeup falls or because
Yeah.
of the way you shoot in super slow motion and the way the smoke in the room kind of moves. It like creates something that you could never create digitally because you wouldn't think to do it.
That's
which
another great
happens
example when the Statue of Liberty torch explodes.
Right.
One of the embers flies at the camera. That wasn't planned,
Right.
but it looked awesome.
Yeah.
So they kept it in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Cool.
So this is completely random, no segue here, but one of the other things I love about these movies, and I know like they get flagged because like, yeah, in some ways they do not hold up, right? Like Venkman's line about, you'll never get a green card with that attitude, like that's not funny anymore, unfortunately, But what I do like is just the casual, arguably non-toxic machismo of these guys. Like
Yeah.
Never once in the second movie do they need to be talked into saving the day. There's no refusal of the call. They are just like, oh, we got another angry god to deal with. I guess it's Tuesday.
Yeah.
It's so great, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just
Well,
like they
well, ditto. I mean, the question ultimately is who are you going to call, really? If you're going to, and then kind of, if you're going to answer the call, you got to.
That's
I
right.
mean,
That's right.
jumping off of that, there's also no, they all get in an argument and they all go their separate ways,
Yeah.
only to come back together at the end,
Right.
which is such a cliche now.
Yeah.
It's refreshing that they don't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with like the new kind of ever since Force Awakens, the kind of legacy sequels now. Why do they all have to start that way? Why do all the characters I loved as a child have to be freaking miserable?
Yeah.
Like and have to come back. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
Right. One of many reasons why I absolutely abhor Ghostbusters Afterlife. You don't have to get into that just yet.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like it's just like these guys are just like, yep, this is what we do. We're exterminators, and this is just a big bug. And I will say, the counterpoint to that is one of the weaker parts of the sequel is the almost carbon copy version. Instead of getting arrested, they get committed.
Yeah.
That's kind of lazy. And
Scene with the mayor is the same.
Yeah. And as we were talking about during the viewing, like the fact that everyone needed to be convinced again.
Yeah.
Like not a single person was like,
Yeah.
oh, so Gozer's back? And they're like, no, it's not Gozer. It's a big ugly dude in a painting.
Right.
And then maybe they could be like, wait, that doesn't make sense. And they're like, you're okay with the Mesopotamian god?
Yeah. Yeah. And also, they famously saved New York City in the first movie, and now they are totally on the outs.
But
kind of hard to swallow a little bit.
Well, it is and it isn't though, because look at all the moronic denial of facts that we have in our own society now, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm actually shocked we don't have 9/11 like complete disbelievers at this point. We have the we already have the conspiracy people.
Yeah.
We haven't quite gotten the crackpots who are just like 9/11 didn't happen.
Oh, didn't happen, right?
We're gonna get
Yeah.
there, right? And and the same thing with this. I could absolutely see people just being like, No, what are you talking about? They just blew up the building, right?
Right, right.
And so that it's actually somewhat plausible, but the mayor's gonna know, right? And that's again, you could have just had him be like, dude, like, we're still not finished paying for the last one. You gotta do this better, or
Yeah.
just something a little different,
Yeah.
But at the same time, like everything else about it works, so
Yeah.
it's okay. And then the other thing is like it's just so funny how much lower the stakes are in this one, and that is a fascinating decision
Yeah.
on their part, like.
Yeah.
And in the way I kind of like it, because I'm so tired of, every single threat is a world-ending threat, and
Yeah.
there's going to be a light shooting into the sky arbitrarily. So at least here, it's just like, yeah, okay, New York's going to suck, but it's probably gonna end in New York. You know? But at the same time, it's like, yeah, it does feel a little anticlimactic.
Yeah.
So, but I
I
will
mean,
say,
they even get the Statue of Liberty back in place at the very
Right,
end.
That's right.
yeah. But one of my hands down favorite moments in the sequel, and this just so encapsulates the relationship the guys all have with each other, is when Vigo possesses Ray, and they just don't take him seriously at all. And I was like, that is we all have that one friend, and if he gets drunk and he's like, guys, I'm mad at you, you're like, I just don't care. Like, and it's like, that is Ray. Everyone's just like, hose him, like, that's so great. That is so great. Like, if he had possessed Vankman, there might have been a problem, right?
Right.
Love that part.
Yeah.
And yeah, like even the end where it's like, even though Janosch was a creep, he still doesn't suffer. He's still.
Yeah.
I mean, you could argue they use an unethical form of mood alteration, but no different than a heavy dose of LCD. It's fine.
Sure.
Yeah, or Prozac or something.
LSD,
Yeah.
whatever.
Zoloft.
LCD.
LCD.
But yeah, I mean, it's just overall like all the things that people don't like about it were largely the result of just circumstances really outside their control in terms of like whether the studio politics or whether they're just kind of forced into, well, we've got to write it around this budget and we've got to work it into this template we already have and make these people happy, because as much as audiences say they want something different and something new, they sure don't support it with their wallets. It's like every time something new and exciting comes out and it tanks, you're like, well, you asked for it, you got it, and now you don't want it. So like that drives me crazy too. So it's like, well, if they did have it set in Scotland, it wouldn't have been successful, probably.
And there are plenty of comedies where the sequel could have tweaked the setup, and it would have worked. Like Hangover 2. You should not have been missing the same guy. Right? It should have been a different guy missing.
Yeah.
So the first guy could now be the straight man, and everyone else is like, yeah, this happened last time. And he's like, what do you mean this happened last time? Right?
Right.
That would have been funny. Horrible Bosses 2, make them the horrible bosses.
Yeah.
Right? Like, which they kind of do, but they don't. Like they don't take it far enough. They instead give them horrible mob bosses, which is just dumb. But in Ghostbusters 2, I don't know how you do that. Like, unless they all die and they become the ghosts and now they're getting busted, which that's too far, Maybe they can do that now, but like, I think I'm glad they didn't just bring back Gozer. But we maybe could have had a more interesting villain than Vigo, Although, side note, the actor who played Vigo, really weird, interesting dude.
The visual guy, because the voice is provided by Max von Sydow.
Yeah. So the actor Wilhelm von Homburg, who I did not realize was also in Die Hard.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah, he plays henchman James.
Oh.
Oh, holy crap, he does.
Yeah.
Is he the guy at who takes over in the lobby?
Maybe.
Like the American. That's right.
Holy crap! I never do not actually believe that Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
Oh, don't start
It's the same face. If you just put longer hair on him, Holy crap, it is. I've never made that connection before.
I have not either.
Wow.
But
I
yeah,
thought I
he
knew everything
apparently
about Ghostbusters, but I didn't.
he was apparently a very troubled man. He was a boxer, also apparently famously bisexual. He pretty sure I don't see this on the Wikipedia page, but I'm pretty sure in the original article he actually spent a good amount of time. He was a minor celebrity in Muscle Beach in Venice Beach, back when that was like a big thing in the early Schwarzenegger days and
Hmm.
stuff like that. But he's got yeah, his father may or may not have been a Nazi.
Oh,
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, he spent time at California's notable Venice Weight Pen, where he became acquainted with future film star Arnold Schwarzenegger. They were professional wrestlers at one point. So yeah, interesting biography on that guy.
yeah.
So
Did he do much else besides Die Hard and
not
Ghostbusters 2?
not filmically, no. And he sadly spent the last years of his life effectively homeless
Oh,
Mm.
jeez.
and died of cancer.
Oh,
So
no.
yeah, not the happiest of stories.
Yeah. Thanks for bumming us out, Dedo.
Sorry. We'll get to the walk-in awards soon.
Yeah, that's right.
Actually, I take that back. His list of credits, it goes all the way back to 1965.
Wow.
But I don't. You guys might recognize these movies. I don't recognize these movies until we get to Die Hard. So he was in Night of the Warrior in 1991.
Everyone's favorite, The Warrior.
Yes.
Right.
And then
Classic.
he was in some TV. He was in Gunsmoke, The Invaders, The Wild Wild West. But yeah, apparently he was very upset that they didn't use his voice. Like he also was not a fan of the movie,
Okay.
or at least
It's got to be
of that.
it's got to be tough for an actor when they decide in post to
Yeah.
dub you, especially
Yeah,
with
the David Prowse situation.
Max von Sydow.
Well, and they said the reason was that his accent was just so thick. At least in the book, I'm pretty sure the article I read back in the day. I wish I could have found it. Said it was like his voice was also not really fit for the talkies. So
I mean, he speaks in Die Hard if that's the same guy, so it's not.
oh, all right, maybe so. Yeah,
Okay,
or maybe
so-
that's dubbed too. But
Yeah.
as I mentioned while we were watching it, that is a hell of a good job with the dub. You would
Yeah.
never know.
It
that's
really
not him
is.
talking. Even watching it and knowing, you can't
Yeah.
tell that it's not him talking.
Yeah.
That's
And the
what-
voice fits the face, too. You know, it's like, it looks like that's what he would sound like.
I love what a diva Vigo is. Like it's just like now is the season of evil. It's like, okay, Queen, he's gonna slay. Like
Yeah.
but I also love how impatient Janosch gets with it. He's like, yes, I've heard.
Yeah,
it.
yeah, that's a great bit. Yeah. Yes, I know this. Yes.
All right. Well, do we want to do walking awards, or do we want to talk about how much we hate the other movies?
Or we can do a budget game, too.
Oh, we can do a budget game.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the other movies,
Yeah.
and then
Well, let's talk. Well, before we get there, let's talk about one thing about what happened after Ghostbusters 2, which is because it seems like tortured development kind of followed Ghostbusters throughout its life, as franchise life, which I guess happens with all big franchises.
Yeah.
You know, it happens with Indiana Jones and all that, because the stakes are so high, and there's so much money involved. But the development of Ghostbusters 3 was its own kind of long and tortured history with multiple versions of it. The most significant and the one that came closest to happening was called Ghostbusters 3 Hellbent, which was where it was essentially a parallel dimension of hell that looked like New York City. So it was called Manhattan instead of Manhattan.
Oh,
yeah, that's
no.
a bit of a...
I was with
bit of
you
a-
until that.
And so they had to kind of traverse Manhattan, which was a kind of flip alternate version of New York City.
I feel like this is an entire setup just so Vankman can say, "I thought we were in New Jersey."
Yeah, there was New Jersey jokes in there that Aykroyd and Ramis worked on, which came close to happening in the early 90s, but then, again, Bill Murray didn't want to do it, so it just kind of fell apart. And there were a whole bunch of other versions that Aykroyd worked on and hired other writers too. But really, when Harold Ramis died, Ghostbusters 3 died with him, basically. I mean, he's such a
Yeah.
integral part of the DNA of it. And my thing was, the thing that bothered me about the 2016 one was that I think they grossly underestimated how beloved he is by both other comedy fans in general, but Ghostbusters fans specifically. And if you're going to do another Ghostbusters, you've got to somehow deal with his passing in some way. You've got to address it directly or something. And what I liked about Afterlife is maybe they went too far in it in the way they did it in Afterlife, but that's one thing I liked about Afterlife is they put that front and center, which I think was important.
All right. So I will say that probably the only moment in Afterlife I liked was when his ghost showed up and the other three guys were like, what the fuck? Like
I cried like a little girl.
Yeah.
When I saw
that was great. I would argue that I personally I didn't need an acknowledgement of his death in the 2016 movie, Answer the Call. I needed an Egon character. There's no Egon character.
They kind of try to do it with Kate McKinnon and that she's weird and sciencey, but it's not the same.
She's basically they're basically all a pastiche of Venkman and Stantz.
Yeah,
except for shoot, like blanking on her name, the black lady from
Leslie Jones.
Yes, yeah. Leslie Jones, who's clearly Zedmore, which also was lazy as shit, right? Like make her the Egon. Like let's change it up here, right? Yeah. But yeah, there was no Egon character. Like Kate McKinnon was trying to do it, but she was too weird. You got to have a straight man. You got to have right. Ghostbusters arguably has like 3 straight men, which is yet they all get to not be straight at times. From a comedy point of view, we're not getting into sexuality here,
right?
So yeah. Anyways,
but yeah, and the whole blow up with the women in Ghostbusters. It's like there was a cartoon called Ghostbusters. Was it Extreme Ghostbusters that had a girl in Ghostbusters? It's like nobody cared. It's just like it got caught up in all that political crap with the Trump and Hillary election and everything, and it just got sucked into that, which was kind of unfortunate.
Yeah, and also it's like on the one hand, I kind of like that they made the bad guy an incel, but on the other hand, like that
was interesting. I like that part.
But that's not what Ghostbusters is about.
Right.
Like that's like it's about ghosts. Like it's about busting ghosts.
Yeah. And making the logo the big bad at the end.
Oh,
it's a little
that's the shit I'm talking about. That's the difference between, because clearly they were like, just like in Afterlife, they're like, we gotta have the Stay Puft somehow.
Yeah.
I will say the VFX of the logo coming to life were really cool.
Yeah,
because it was
the effects are great. It's the biggest budget of all the Ghostbusters.
Well, yeah, but just like that one in particular, it was like fabric, but it wasn't. It was a really neat, and I'm sure some poor VFX guy was like, I can't believe I didn't get any credit for this, because it was just like it was a material you don't usually see on film realized like in CGI. But that being said, clearly it was fan service. It was like, well, we don't want to do Stay Puft, but what if we make the logo who looks like Stay Puft into a Stay Puft-esque monster? Like, no, that's weak sauce. Like, I mean, but also making a bunch of mini Stay Puft Marshmallow Men, also crappy. Like, also lazy and also dumb. Just stop with all that. Like,
yeah. And the other thing, to go back to development for a second about the 2016 one, is we also know we have a much more detailed blow by blow of the development of that film because of the Sony hack, right? If you remember when the interview came out, there was tens of thousands of emails that were released. And if you ever want to go down a rabbit hole, just start reading those things, because you read those and you're like, wait a minute, this is how studios are run? Like, this is insane. Some of these emails are nuts, like in terms of like what you thought was a good idea or how you went. It's like, what is wrong with you people? This is so dumb. And these are in charge of like billion-dollar corporations that are tasked with entertaining the masses. Come on, guys, get it together.
And as you guys know, the most unforgivable thing for me about the 2016 movie is that you literally have it set up in Ghostbusters 2 when the woman on Peter Venkman's show says the world is going to end on Valentine's Day 2016 because an alien told her. How do you not use that?
That is crazy. Huge miss.
Oh my God, that would have validated so, like, even just from a writing point of view, that's your starting point. You've anchored it in the world. Now you go from there. But the fact that they couldn't even decide, was this a reboot or a sequel, just tells you everything you need to know.
The market confusion of that, and again, the first teaser trailer really confused that, because they played up the association with the original Ghostbusters a lot. And ultimately, it had nothing whatsoever to do with that. And I think that pissed off a lot of people too. That kind of bait and switch there, where you're like, oh, I thought you were going to honor the original. And it's okay to ignore it. Like, it's okay to just do your own thing. But don't tell me you're going to do that and then do something completely different. Like, that's marketing, bad marketing.
It was a requel, which is just that.
Yeah,
Requel.
A requel. Not a legacy sequel, but a requel.
Yeah.
Side note, speaking of requels, but admittedly successful ones, I learned very recently the reason Evil Dead 2 is the way it is. Not a comedy, but the fact that it starts off as basically the first one shrunk down into 15 minutes. And that's because when they made the sequel, they didn't have the rights to the first movie.
So they couldn't use clips. Yeah.
So they couldn't use, so they had to basically do their own rehash. And
like
so
previously on Evil Dead.
Yeah, and so most people are like, I think it's Bruce Campbell who said, just start the movie from when Ash goes flying out of the cabin. But then Sam Raimi is like, no. It's just that Ash's brain got so scrambled. The second one is how he remembers things, and the first one is what actually happened. So you have two
competing things.
But that always baffled me, and I would always very quickly forget it because the second one is just so much fun.
Yeah.
But every time I'd watch it, I was like, wait a second, why is he doing this?
And the whole tone of the more slapsticky tone, the direct result of Sam Raimi being put on trial in Britain for the first one.
Oh, fair enough.
Because of the whole video nasties. He's like, I'm not going to jail again, so we're going to make this Three Stooges like.
Yeah.
So, less intense than the first one.
I wonder how he feels about Evil Dead Rise.
Yeah, I liked Evil Dead Rise. I liked it well enough.
No,
but we got another one coming, so.
I just mean in terms of, look what they're getting away with now.
Oh, yeah,
right.
yeah. Indeed.
I actually haven't seen it, so.
It's pretty good. The sound mix is great. Like, the soundtrack is amazing.
You can really hear the cheese grater?
Yeah, exactly. It really gets under your skin No? Okay.
The rough
anyways, back on track.
I'll retire back to my lair after that one.
Back on track. So, all right, so we've covered the 2016 movie.
Yeah.
Yep.
Quick side note. Do the fact that Bill Murray and Harold Ramis had a falling out in the 90s had to have impacted why there was no sequel for a while.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. And that's so stupid, that whole Ramis Murray. It's so sad too.
It is sad because
they finally made amends on his deathbed, but come on, man. Like that was so depressing.
Would you care to tell the less informed audience what the feud was about?
No one really knows. Like, it was just Bill Murray being Bill Murray.
Right. It was partly because he was an asshole while they were making.
It was over Groundhog Day. Yeah, it was just
Bill Murray was an asshole.
Yeah, and Ramis rewrote the script to play into his charming assholeness.
Yeah,
because he knew him so well.
Yeah,
you mean when Bill Murray invented Adam Sandler?
Invented the Adam Sandler persona. Yeah.
One of my favorite Bill Murray stories is when Sofia Coppola asked him to be in her movie, which I'm forgetting the name of.
Lost in Translation?
Lost in Translation. She had trouble tracking him down because he doesn't have an agent. So she finally tracked him down. They had lunch. He said, yes, he'll do it. But she did not know for sure if he was going to show up, if he was actually going to be in the movie until he showed up on the set.
That story is told multiple times from people. He just has a phone number you call. And if he hears your message, maybe he'll show up. And that could be a $150 million movie, or it could be a $10,000 indie that he'll just, Jim Jarmusch will just call him, hey, show up. Can you come on? I have this part for you. He's like, all right, I'll show up. Yeah. I think Zombieland was another one. Like, they didn't know he was going to show up for sure until like the day he just shows up on set. We're like, okay, I guess we're doing the Bill Murray cameo then.
Yeah.
Which is just insane.
Well, I mean, he can afford to live that way, I guess.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, I guess if you can get away with it, it's the best. Although it seems like he's not getting away with it as much anymore because of the whole Aziz Ansari thing. So
yeah.
We'll see.
All right. Well, so I was just I cannot keep my mouth shut about how I feel about Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Yeah. All right. So here's where we kind of rip the starter and get Dedo wound up, and you take it, Dedo.
Well, and this is because, as I've expressed, I feel very strongly about the camaraderie and the friendship in the first two movies. And I understand that with Harold Ramis being not with us anymore, you do have a bit of a narrative problem. But the laziness to just be like, yep, they all had a falling out because he decided Gozer was coming back is so inherently bad. It's so dumb
And nonsensical
and
too. Just why
nonsensical.
would they not believe him? Like it
Yeah,
just
it's
doesn't make any sense.
like I can't even think of a good analogy, but like imagine if in Predator, first of all, okay, imagine not everyone died in Predator, right? So like imagine they survived Predator. And then a year later, Arnold is like, "Hey, I think there might be another predator." And his friends are just like, "You're crazy, dude. I'm never gonna talk to you again." Like, no, they'd be like, "Oh shit, I'm gonna get my guns." Like,
Mm.
And so like it just throws out the entire heart of the first two movies just
Yeah.
out of sheer laziness, just so we can justify why Harold Ramis is now or was out in a farmhouse out somewhere in the middle of nowhere. Also because that was a video game that like there was a reference to that in the video game, like, and then that just unlocks a whole other slew of plot problems that I don't even have to like nerd out and get into. But
Right.
that to me was just absolutely unforgivable. But I will say, had the movie ended where Gozer shows up, we have Stranger Things, I mean the young Ghostbusters fighting Gozer, and like we're losing, and then old Ghostbusters show up and they're like, "Don't worry, we got this." And they whip out the painting of Vigo and they're like, "Go get her, Vig." And Vigo like steps out and fights Gozer. That maybe would have saved the movie.
There you
Maybe.
go. That's some fan
But
fiction there for you.
as it was just fan service. It was just awful. So
Yeah.
did
And
not see
the
the newer one. I am baffled by anyone who thinks in today's modern climate change fearing times that winter makes a good bad guy. Like I am baffled by that choice. Like hey, we might never see snow again. Ever. Let's make a movie about how bad it would be if it snowed. Like what the fuck?
but they're frozen with fear, Deado.
And
Don't
it's
you
not
get
like
it?
it takes place in Miami where it's not supposed to get snow. It's New York, which has
Yeah.
famously rough winters.
Right.
Like it's just like what studio exec who never left LA thought that was a good idea for a
That
script?
we're doing Mr. Freeze's plot from
Yeah, he's just
Batman and
like
Right.
Robin, basically.
some dude who grew up in San Diego was just like, yeah, snow is terrifying. Let's take a bad guy who snows. Like it's just horrible. But I didn't even see the movie. Maybe it's awesome. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
know.
not. It's
All
not.
right. Anyway,
I can't even discuss it because I don't remember it. So,
I know.
so it's
It
like,
gave you brain freeze.
but I liked Afterlife more than you did. All the stuff you mentioned bothered me, but I'm just kind of like when it comes to Ghostbusters, kind of just made helpless by my own nostalgia, which is, and to give you an example, like when I really engaged with the movie was when I'm watching it and the new characters are fine, like it's well directed, it's reasonably well written, like I like these characters well enough and everything, but I'm like okay, but it doesn't necessarily feel like a Ghostbusters movie, even though it has some of the references to the earlier, but as soon as the Mackenzie Grace character, she has the proton pack, right, and she's out in that field or whatever where the run building is, and she switches it on, and it's the same sound effect from the original that sounded like that of the pack turning on, and that the hairs on the back of my neck kind of literally stood up because I'm like, oh my god, it's back. It's like that sound that I loved, that lore that I loved, that style that I loved is back. And from then on, I was like, all right, you got me. All you needed was a sound effect to get me back in. I could do a whole rant on the nostalgia of sound effects, especially when it comes to like Star Wars and something, about how almost just like music, it just kind of bypasses your intellectual capacity. It just like gets into the nostalgia sensors of your brain. And then from then on, I was in. I really liked it from then on. And like I said, I cried when Harold Ramis showed up at the end.
Like I hear what you're saying, and yeah, absolutely. But like for me, they seem to think that that's all they had to do. They just
Yeah.
had to check the nostalgia boxes. They
Right,
didn't
right.
worry about the plot holes. They didn't worry about how they're just ruining and what kills me is like, we're living in a time where everyone wants a shared universe, but this movie took all the fundamentals of the universe and just cut them to ribbons
Yeah.
for the sake of making the movie work where it was, right? Like, and it just bothered me so much that yeah, it's cool to hear that noise and stuff like that, but like it just tore the heart out of the films, and it's like so to me it does not exist because I refuse to I
We do
refuse to
acknowledge it.
live in a world where Venkman and Stantz gave up on Egon because he dared to say, "Hey guys, the job might not be done." Like
Yeah.
I also think it's stupid as hell that like Gozer is back. Like it's also lazy as shit and
Yeah.
incredibly dumb. But more importantly, it's just like that's not how they would react. It's just,
Yeah.
hell. I mean, we all know old people. They all want their like they would probably be freaking psyched, and they'd be like,
Yeah.
"Cool, we get our glory again."
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can put the packs back on.
Right?
Yeah.
Like look at how many boomers want to hate communists. Like,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, it just gets back to the laziness of like what we talked about already with like the legacy sequel movement of just why do you
Yeah.
have to make everybody so goddamn miserable? Why
Yeah.
can't we just have the camaraderie that we had, before and just
Yeah.
kind of take the next step with it,
That is a very good point, right? Yeah, it's like I don't want my heroes. It's not grown up. It's not mature to
Right.
think that like Han and Leia are getting a divorce,
Right.
or
Right.
Or
Luke
Luke is a miserable old
Luke
fuck,
is a
whatever.
hermit.
Right. Yeah.
Like it's just no, it's just incredibly cynical. Like,
Yeah.
Well, and there's also the Ryan Johnson thing of like subverting expectations, right? Well, here's the thing. It's very easy to subvert expectations. It's not that hard, despite
Right.
what people think. It's very easy to think of things. All you got to do is just do the opposite, right? Well,
Right.
what if, instead of Luke being a noble hero, what if he's like a miserable old bastard and wants to shut down the Force and wants to go and die? Okay, yeah, that's unexpected. That's interesting. But is it satisfying? No, it's not. Like, it's hard to make, and that's what gets into the issue of sequels and engineering a sequel that's satisfying. It's hard to make something that's unexpected dramatically, but still satisfying for an audience. That's really hard to do. And if you don't care about satisfying an audience, then you can do whatever you want, but you're going to pay the price for it, which is what kind of Last Jedi happened. Which is it's an interesting script. It's a good script, but it's not as the eighth part in a 9-part series. It's the worst possible thing you can do because it just kind of cuts everything off and gives you nowhere to go, and is not satisfying and just is not what you need.
it also
From
seemed like
from
he
that
somehow
thing.
managed to do it without telling Disney. Like,
Yeah, yeah, right. Nobody
Yeah.
cared. Seems
they
Although-
seem just as surprised.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, and
I'm
in
sorry
terms
though,
of like
still not as bad as Rise of Skywalker.
no,
which
Rise of
is
Skywalker is just a
that's
disaster.
really awful.
And I mean, we've now completely gotten off topic here, but I am genuinely, because I don't think we're ever going to cover any of the Star Wars movies. Except,
Well, as long as I'm on the podcast, I'll find a way to do it at some point.
well,
so.
I know that our 20th episode is going to be the Ewok Christmas special.
Oh yeah.
An Ewok adventure.
But no, but I will say I did actually like the climactic battle between Luke and Kylo.
I did too.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool. But I also fully acknowledge that if I was 13, I'd be left with nerdy blue balls. Because at 13, I would absolutely want to see the lightsaber duel of the ages. But
Yeah.
I forget how old I was when I saw it. When did that movie come out? How long ago?
Which one?
The middle one. The one we're
Last
just
Jedi?
Yeah.
Oh, that was 2017.
2017. So that was 8 years ago.
Yeah.
So I was all of 41. I was like, that
Wow,
was
you're old. Okay, sorry.
that was a good way to do that, right? Like
Yeah.
subverted expectations, but it was also satisfying, and it was also true to the character,
Yeah.
right? That was the best part. It's like, oh, that is what Luke would do, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
And-
I
and-
agree. Like,
yeah.
I actually really liked what Ryan Johnson was trying to do.
Yeah,
with
me
Last
too.
Jedi.
I respected
wish
it. Yeah.
I wish he had been given the full trilogy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
I
not
like
the-
I
not
like
the-
that one the best of the three.
It's
new
by far
ones.
the best film of those three.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's from a screenplay standpoint and from a crowd. It's
Yeah.
the best movie, but it's the best movie, but it's the worst movie for the franchise. Essentially, it's like a franchise.
Yeah.
And it's also like, sequels also have the one last thing, just like it has the bad rap of like pleasing an audience is a bad thing. It's like, no, it's like you're making for Last Jedi, or you're making the seventh sequel in a series, right? There's no reason for this to exist. The original Lucas inspiration is gone, right? He told his story, we're done. So the only reason to make these is because people want them. So why not just give them what they want? Instead of that's not a sin, to give people what they want.
I want a sexy lady Luke Skywalker.
Well, and where's Mary Jade, by the way, to get into Star Wars nerdy stuff? So that's a whole other podcast.
Yeah,
so
that's
Google Mary Jade. Yeah.
All right. Well, what I was going to say was going to get back to Ghostbusters now.
Yes.
And since we've all agreed that the sequels don't actually exist, how would you guys do a Ghostbusters 3? And you can choose to have the original cast or start from scratch. Ken, let's start with you.
Jeez. I didn't even have
You
a
ambushed
chance
us with that one, Ditto. Wow.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. This,
Well, I just came up with it. Well, all right. I'll give you a moment. Go do a bump of cocaine.
Just merely make it the 80s.
Yeah. So direct sequel to Ghostbusters 2.
Yep.
And any right after?
You can do it as if the original cast is still alive.
Yeah.
Or you can do it.
Yeah.
You can do it with a whole new cast.
Well, I would want the original cast. I would want the cast back. I wouldn't want a whole new cast. This is terrible. I'm not going to come up with anything good.
Well, I would just say, you can still keep thinking, Ken. The thing that would be interesting that they haven't dealt with, and that Venkman even says in the first film, when he says, the franchise rights alone will make us rich beyond our wildest dreams. That idea hasn't really been explored about Ghostbusters being a franchise, being everywhere, being across the country and being around the world or something like that. And that would give you, I think, a lot of narrative opportunities, not just for different stories, but also for different people, different casts, right? What does Ghostbusters look like in LA versus New York, in terms of different types of cities and different sensibilities and you can have different comic voices in there that contrast with the original set, and different types of styles and different types of ways to go about telling stories.
Yeah.
So I think that going down that road would be interesting to me. I'd want to see, more about outside of New York City. What is this world like? And also how the world deals with it too, because it's very localized and we don't really get much of a sense of the rest of the world. And so I think that's what good sequels do, I think, is they expand out from what the original inspiration was to kind of deepen it and making it a little more interesting and a little more expansive than what you get in the first one.
Great point, actually. And maybe, we talked about how important New York is to these movies.
Yeah.
But maybe this is the movie where they go to LA and it's a very LA specific kind of a threat. And the way people who live in LA react differently to all the different ghosts that they encounter, there could be a lot of comedy in that.
Yeah,
or Chicago even, since they're Chicago guys too. So
Well, think about it, LA, and this might be one of those cases where you're getting too into the weeds about the plot ramifications, but someone in LA is going to want the ghost of Frank Sinatra or the ghost of, to be in their movies, right? And you could, if you did a modern version, you could be suddenly this company is doing this great AI and everyone's like, how are they doing this? And it turns out they're enslaving the ghost. Maybe the Ghostbusters have to rescue the ghosts.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe there's some kind of a meta story where they're making a Ghostbusters movie,
No.
Detto says no.
Okay. I think they could.
The other genuinely interesting development from the tortured Ghostbusters 3 development, which was Aykroyd was working on an idea about the kind of large collider, the super collider, like CERN and the Hadron Collider, that created parallel universes. And that would be interesting. I would like to have read that script or seen that script where that was kind of the central part of it. Because I remember him at the time giving interviews where he was very excited about it and talking about the the ramifications of parallel universes, and was very much in keeping with his original treatment for Ghostbusters, which is insane, by the way. If any of you guys have read like summaries of that,
Yeah.
it's bonkers crazy. There's like different planets and different dimensions, and it's crazy. So maybe not quite that far, but that idea of bringing in the parallel universe idea, I think, is something he kept coming back to, which I think would be interesting.
Well, that's a good
What about you,
segue.
Ditto?
Well, I'll tell you.
I have a feeling the whole reason we did this episode is so we can get Ditto's Ghostbusters pitches.
It actually wasn't. I actually just pulled this out of my ass while we were thinking about what to say. But no, all right. So here's my big pitch, and I think it dovetails nicely with yours, Professor. And this is a larger thing about me, which I know you guys have heard me say before. Stop remaking movies. Stop sequelizing movies. Give me crossovers. I want Ghostbusters 3 to be Ghostbusters versus Evil Dead. How fucking amazing would that be?
That would be
Right?
cool.
We can throw in Bruce Campbell. That would be the dream team. But you could also like start from scratch if you're doing a multiverse thing, or Ghostbusters versus The Conjuring, or
Ghostbusters and Men in Black.
I personally would prefer to keep it supernatural
Yeah.
rather than aliens. That's
Yeah.
just because like then you're just going full comic book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think like give me crossovers.
Yeah.
That's how you start making stuff. And since 90% of IP is owned by 5 studios, like this is very doable.
Right.
I don't know who owns Evil Dead.
Is it maybe the Warner Brothers family? I think
Yeah.
Ryan essentially eventually at some point owned
So
it.
Ghostbusters versus Evil Dead might not happen, but I
Or
guarantee
Lionsgate, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sony has other properties that the busters could bust, and it would be amazing,
Yeah.
right? So that's my big pitch.
Yeah.
Okay, some sort of crossover.
Some sort of crossover. Yeah.
Ghostbusters Conjuring. That's kind of. I'm actually picturing it now.
Right?
There you
The
go.
Warrens wander in.
Yeah. Or
Well, we do have a sort of crossover, and Aykroyd has given an interview recently where he acknowledged this is canon.
I don't know if Aykroyd is the final say on any of
Well,
that,
I mean, he
but-
did create it, so you know where I'm going, Ditto, right?
Yep, I do.
Okay, well, the Casper cameo, right?
Oh.
So in the beginning of the 1995 film Casper, there's a sight gag where Dan Aykroyd, with a mustache, by the way, which is just weird. I just think that was weird. He's got his Ghostbusters getup, his race stance name on his jumpsuit, and comes out and says, "Who are you going to call?" And he says, "Someone else." And then he walks away. He has acknowledged that is Ghostbusters canon.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we care about a
That's
Ghostbusters
stupid,
Casper
but
crossover.
I do not
Ray's-
think it's canon.
Ray's emo
I don't
phase.
accept it.
But what about
Ken just will not have it.
Ghostbusters meets Beetlejuice?
There you go.
Oh,
Right?
that I like.
Yeah, like there's some good some good shit out there.
Yeah.
Like
There you go.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters versus The Ring.
Well, I feel like the thing about Beetlejuice that I like is I feel like it's on the same the Ring or Evil Dead, like the violence level is probably too off kilter. I
Yeah.
don't know if that's the right word that I'm looking for. Whereas like I feel like Beetlejuice would mesh really well.
Yeah,
Like,
in
it's
terms of the PG
I feel
sensibility.
like it's almost the same world.
Although I feel like you could make Evil Dead work because Evil Dead has gotten campier and campier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and slapsticky.
I'm
Yeah.
not talking like obviously I'm not talking Evil Dead Rise or the
Yeah, modern Evil Dead.
or
Yeah,
the other one.
Right.
I'm talking about like Army of Darkness level Evil Dead.
Yeah.
And you can do a lot of stuff off screen and you just replace blood with slime. So
Yeah.
you could still have some real gross things, but like, it doesn't have to be like actual viscera.
Yeah.
I think that could absolutely work. And
Yeah.
of course, then you get Bruce Campbell with a shotgun or with a proton launch to
wand.
his arm, like
Yeah. That would be
Uh,
amazing.
that would be pretty awesome. So just put it out there in the universe for all our ones of listeners to.
That's right. Go think about that for a while. Go write that fan fiction.
All right. Well, I think now it's time to play some games.
Yeah,
Some
We're gonna start-
games.
We're gonna start with the budget game.
cool.
Professor, with his absolute encyclopedic brain, is going to run the budget game.
Very well. I think we can do a franchise budget game, right? We can go film by film if we need to.
Oh,
But to start with, I do, and I remember this number because I'm a giant freaking nerd. So I do have a specific number of the budget for 2. Now there was competing sources, some have a range of it, but I think this specific number would be pretty close to what it was. And just for reference, I'll give you the first one. The first one budget was $30 million in 1983 and 84, which was a lot of money then. It was quite a bit.
Point.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the other thing about the Ghostbusters too, is like part of the sequel development was they would say still wanted to keep the budget down. That was the other thing that held it back, which was they were all willing to do it, but they were all gonna take their full price. So like Murray wanted 10 million, they all wanted 10 million. The budget was escalating just to pay them to come back. So you're talking 50, 60, 70 million dollars in 1988 or 89, which was just cost prohibitive. That just wasn't going to happen. So they got the budget down by having them take a little less money up front, but took a piece of the back end to pay them that way. So 30 million was the first one. Do you want to guess what the budget is for Ghostbusters 2? Dedo? Because you've done some extra research with the book, so you have a whole lot of, all about the physical production of it in there.
But I'm also a horrible student. So I actually feel like I read at one point that they said that the budget was supposed to be the same. It was supposed to be 30 mil, but I'm assuming that did inflate. So I'm going to go with 40 mil.
Okay. $40 million. Ken?
I think it's more than that. I'm going to say 60.
Good guesses, both. $37 million was the boom. So you almost got it right on, Dedo. The range that I saw was 30 to 40 for the most part, but the specific numbers I saw was
it was probably 60 with P&A, Ken. So
yeah, and
maybe
60 was the number it was starting to get up to, Ken, which is when when they were paying everybody full price up front.
Yeah.
And they said, no, we can't do that. So they kind of scaled it back by having them take less money up front and just get some back end money, essentially. So they all have back end deals to get the movie made.
37 mil now would be such a bargain.
Yeah, that's like an episode of streaming TV now.
It is.
$37 million.
That's 5 minutes of Apple TV.
Exactly. So the movie was, even though it didn't do as well as the first one, I mean, how many movies did do as well as the first one? Because it was a giant monster hit, but it made a significant amount of money to cover that budget and to cover the expenditure. So it did okay in the end. Do you want to guess the budget for the 2016 remake or requel or whatever the hell we want to call it?
I like
in
requel.
20 requel
Yeah.
in 2016 dollars.
150 million.
Okay, Ken.
149.99.
You are both correct. I found a range. The specific number I found was 144, but the range I found was between 144 and 154 because they also did a lot of research. So you guys are right on
this.
Yeah, so you guys are right on.
Awesome.
And then do you want to try, I'm going to skip Frozen Empire. We're not going to do that one. Do you want to try Afterlife?
The
Do you
budget
have a
for,
specific budget for Afterlife? I have a specific number for that one.
budget for Afterlife is $0 because it does not exist.
It's
Well, then Ken, you can
gotta
play
be
that.
right. It's
It
gotta
is
be
less. I'll give you that. It is less.
I'm gonna say 120.
Okay. Do you want to try that or it just doesn't exist?
I'm going to go with an even hundo.
Close. It's 75. So at the
Oh,
price of the
wow.
2016. And that was the big lesson was that the 2016 movie made a decent amount of money, but if the budget wasn't so inflated, it would have done fine in terms of profitability. So when they did another Ghostbusters, you're like, okay, you'll do it, but you're not going to go over 100 or you're not going to go as high on the budget. You're going to keep the budget down.
But they cut it in
So,
half.
They cut it in half.
That would
exactly.
almost
Wow.
be enough to make me like the movie if it was remotely good.
Wow. Yeah.
Indeed.
All right. Well, so related, it occurred to me I wanted to throw out a couple little factoids about the movie that we never got to from the book that I just thought were delightful. The first of which being the courtroom scene was shot on a reused set from Legal Eagles.
Oh.
The Ivan Reitman directed Legal
Yeah.
Eagles.
Wow. I've
Yes,
seen that
from-
movie.
Yes. And then other little interesting tidbit, not necessarily budget related. Baby Oscar was played by two twins,
Yeah.
Henry and Hank Duschendorf. Oh no, wait, that's I think the same. Henry and William Duschendorf. But do we know what celebrity they're related to?
Ooh, I don't think I do.
No, I don't either.
All right, I'll give you a hint. Duschendorf is not a clue.
Is it a fake
Thank
baby
you.
name?
That's fair.
No, I don't really know what the
Oh.
story is there, but they are, according to my magic book, they are nephews of Country Roads John Denver.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Is that?
And-
That's
what?
amazing.
yeah, and there was no explanation of that. They just throw that in there. There's no explanation of how that happened.
No
was
context.
John Denver born John Duschendorf?
That's definitely possible.
Maybe.
Maybe
Wow.
Dusseldorf
We need to-
is how you say Denver in German. I don't know.
Right. I'm looking this up right now.
I was gonna say we have to look this up now.
Yes, and lastly, as you know, we do know that Jason Reitman is in the movie as as the obnoxious kid. That scene in the what appears to be a brownstone is actually shot on the third floor of the firehouse.
Oh.
No kidding.
That they never used. And one other relative of the cast has a cameo. Do you guys want to guess who the psychologist is related to when they're locked up in the psych ward?
Oh, that's Brian Doyle Murray.
Yeah, it's Bill Murray's brother.
Bill Murray's brother.
Oh, right.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
And you
Yeah, that was
see
an
it.
easy
He
one.
looks. Yeah. He sounds just like Bill Murray.
Yeah,
He's
But it-
just a little,
yeah.
little scratchier, but yeah.
it
So-
never occurred to me. So
Yeah.
John Denver, born Henry John Duschendorf Jr.
there you go.
How about that?
See?
Go.
I don't make this shit up.
That is some good trivia.
Or Deutschendorf, I guess is how you say it.
Deutschendorf.
Douche.
Duschendorf.
You're making
I mean,
me laugh by
you
saying
know.
it that way.
And so, what part of Germany you're from?
That's right.
And I'm
Well,
sure
there you go. How about that?
I'm sure I'm forgetting others. So, like, really, listeners, if you're a Ghostbusters fan, highly recommend Ghostbusters: The Ultimate Visual History by one Daniel Wallace. It's got a ton of great interviews. It's got some really in-depth research.
Nice.
Great photos, tons and tons of sketches and visualizations. Like the original concept of Vigo is like straight out of an anime. It's like it looks like it's from One Piece. It's crazy. Like I was like, how did you get from that to what we have? You know? So it's really cool to see. I'm not normally a big coffee table book fan, but this one was absolutely worth it. So all
Excellent.
right.
A place of honor next to your Ghostbusters poster, right? Did which you have a framed Ghostbusters
I
poster.
mean, I do. It's actually directly above my computer, so I'm actually looking at it as I talk to you guys.
There you go.
Last but not least, it's time for the Walken Awards. This might be a rare movie where, like, it doesn't actually need Christopher Walken in it.
No,
But-
no.
That being said, we're gonna play the game anyways. So
But the movie, though, not as quotable as the first one. It feels like the original Ghostbusters is maybe one of the most quotable movies of all time. It feels like every other line wound up on a T-shirt
true,
in the 80s.
but there are some gems that I absolutely love. One of which is Vigo, 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 you've been a bad monkey. Which I still to this day say that, and people look at me like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And then also, like right there at the same time is Johnny, did you back the wrong horse? It's just like, so good, so good. But of course, nothing as good as when someone asks if you're a god, you say yes.
You say yes,
Anything
indeed.
along those
Back
lines.
off, man. I'm a scientist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or okay, so she's a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Ken, do you have any nominees for a Walken Award?
I do have one. Speaking of the Deutschendorfs, I really enjoy when Venkman is talking to the baby and he says, "You're short, your belly button sticks out too far, and you're a terrible burden on your poor mother."
No,
That could be
specifically-
Walkenized.
Because he's
That's
putting
when
him
he's-
down.
That's what he's putting the baby down. Yeah. Solid. Yeah. I'm trying, like, on the one hand, I think Janosch as Walken.
Yeah, I was
be
gonna say
amazing.
pretty much all of Janosch's lines
Yeah.
could be a Walken Award.
Yeah.
You
But
know,
at the
a
same
walking
time,
eye.
they're also just
So great
good.
already.
They're so good
Yeah.
already, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but my favorite being why am I drippings with goo? That would be probably my favorite. Is why am I drippings with goo?
My favorite is my favorite is everything you're doing is bad. I need you to know this.
It's I need you to know this is the thing that really makes it essentially.
Uh,
Let me see. I just kind of like wrote down stuff that I remember. I didn't go back and look at just like stuff that stuck in my mind. And one that I just like the way Murray says it, and I think Walken could really nail this is, do you know how weird it is out there? where Bankman goes, have you been out there? Do you know how weird it is out there? And just Walken going, do you know how weird it is out there would be great.
actually, you know who would probably like the mayor's aide, played by Kurt Fuller.
Kurt
would
Fuller,
probably be
yeah.
a good walk-in swap.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, everybody's favorite late 80s asshole.
Yeah.
You know, most famous probably for No Holds Barred, where he's just insane in that movie. He just goes completely over the top and is not. Maybe we'll do that on this podcast one day of No Holds Barred. And this one just made me laugh because it's so random, and I didn't even get this at the time when I was a kid, but now being a film nerd, when Venkman is trying to entertain Oscar and he says, I have some Laura Antonelli tapes if you want to watch them.
I know.
At the time, I didn't know what that meant, but now it's just so random and weird that even Siskel and Ebert had to acknowledge that was funny.
Yeah.
So,
No one knows who Laura Antonelli is anymore.
yeah.
I also really like the bit about the Joe Namath sweatshirt, where he's like, I got this from a girl who says she got it from Joe Namath. We don't know. We don't want to know.
And I do like Louis Tully's line, I had a roommate, but my mom moved to Florida.
Yeah, that is good.
Just made me
It's also,
laugh.
I'm honestly shocked how little he's in the movie.
Yeah, it does feel like he was cut out, right?
Yeah.
And you mentioned that whole subplot, he was, in fact, cut out, right,
Yeah.
Dedo?
Yeah.
He was, yeah, but and he was huge at that point.
Yeah.
So that's
this is the same year as Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yeah.
So, he's blowing up in a well, to use a pun for the sequel.
Yeah.
It was the sequel to Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. He was, in 2 blockbusters that summer. So
Yeah, I mean he was this huge, massive star.
And now I can't believe it. Speaking of sequels,
Oh yeah,
coming back for Spaceballs 2. How about that?
One we might actually be excited about.
Yeah, I can't tell you how excited I am about it. I was kind of indifferent to it before, but holy shit, if he's going to be in it, I can't believe it.
Mel Brooks is so old.
You better shoot that yogurt cameo before.
I know.
It's hard to believe it's going to be funny.
Yeah.
Even though
how much is he actually involved in it?
Yeah, I think it's just in name only. Like, supposedly it's Josh Gad and a couple of the other writers who actually wrote it. I mean, sure, he had some input on it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I will say, that
doesn't necessarily make me feel better.
Well, there is History of the World Part 2, which was not very good and not very funny.
Oh, I really liked History of the World Part 2, but that was maybe it was full of dick jokes.
Yeah, there you go. But the teaser trailer that he introduced, his part was funny, where it's him on camera just saying, we wanted to make, it was the joke was, everybody wanted us to make a sequel. We had these great ideas for it. He's like, but we made this one instead, which made me laugh. So I think it's still there if he's written properly for him. So
I'm optimistic.
Side note, I remember as a kid, it took me a longer time than I should admit to figure out that there is no History of the World Part 1. Like, I saw History of the World Part 2, probably younger than I should have, and then I was like, this was hilarious. I want to see the first one. Up and down the video shelves, could not find it. Finally figured out years later, oh, that was a joke.
Yeah, just like Jews in Space at the end, right?
Yes. Speaking of jokes, because I've got IMDb page open and they're playing the trailer, but that bit when they do their commercial and they're like, you mean the commemorative Ghostbusters mug and balloons for the kid, and then it says limit 1 per family?
1 per family.
That is just hilarious. Like, I don't even have kids, and I can't imagine the trouble that would cause with the family, though, with kids who want Ghostbuster balloons. So, yeah. All right. Well, I think everyone already knows that they should trust us about Ghostbusters 2. I will say, it's funny because the consensus is it was critically panned and people don't think it's as good, and I've certainly seen that echoed recently if you go to the IMDb page and you look at the reviews, every single one of them starts with, "I don't know why people say this movie is bad. It's awesome." You have to go down like 7 reviews before you finally get to one that's like, "This is actually not good."
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
wow, how about that?
Cinema score A-. So when
Yeah,
people actually
yeah.
watch the movie, they like
Yeah,
it.
and
So
Ken,
all-
you are our control group on this, right? Because
I am.
you are not immersed in Ghostbusters the way we are, and you hadn't seen it in a very long time, and
Very, very
you
long
had fun
time.
with it.
I
So, like, if you don't
very
trust
much
us,
enjoyed it.
trust Ken. You
Right.
know?
Trust me.
And this seems like a good time to tell our faithful listeners that we're shifting the format of the podcast for the next season. We're just going to do every episode of the Ghostbusters cartoon.
This is now a real Ghostbusters podcast, which I'm on board
And
with.
then we're going to do what was the other show called? The knockoff.
Oh,
But it wasn't a knockoff show. It was
it was
actually
actually called Ghostbusters. Well, you know the story behind that, right?
yeah.
There was a whole.
Universal had the rights.
Yeah, go Google that. It's a whole
So it
thing
was the
because
real
there was.
Ghostbusters and the original Ghostbusters.
Yeah,
Right?
the Filmation still had the rights to the Ghostbusters, so they just did an animated show based on that. But it's
Right.
completely different from the Ghostbusters that was successful. So
But it is actually based on the movie, where the rights came from. There's actually a gorilla in the movie.
well, in the TV show that was based on a TV show
Was it a
from
TV
the
show? I thought it was
70s.
a movie.
No, it was a TV show from the 70s.
Oh, okay. All right.
So, but yes, all that stuff in that
I
cartoon
don't
is
know
the
this
same.
at all.
The dematerializer. Oh yeah, it's a whole
There's
thing. So
2 different Ghostbusters
yes,
cartoons.
so just really quickly, like
Ken, you're so old.
when they were making
know.
when they were making Ghostbusters, the one that we know, the 84 one, there was some question as to whether they could call it Ghostbusters.
So the cartoon existed
had
before the movie.
Yes, it was a TV show from the 70s done
Okay.
by Filmation, a live action TV show
Okay.
that had 2 older character actors. I don't remember their names offhand. You guys can Google it and find out. And they had a gorilla sidekick, just a dude in a monkey suit.
Okay.
And they had ghost busting equipment. It was different technology. They had something
Yeah.
called a dematerializer that he just held up and shot at a ghost, and they dematerialized.
They drove a car that was very reminiscent of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Yes, a chitty chitty bang bang like car that had like gadgets and stuff on it.
Total
Wow.
pastiche.
Yeah. And it was a kids show. It wasn't all that successful. It lasted, I don't know how many episodes, but not very long. And then just disappeared forever until Aykroyd had the idea, and he wanted to call it Ghostbusters because that's what it is. They had even had the no ghost logo and everything. But legally, they were unsure if they were able to call it Ghostbusters. I don't know what they would have called it if they couldn't. And
So
I think there was some kind of deal worked out where they could use the name Ghostbusters.
So at one point, maybe this is in my book, but I didn't read the first chapter. I skipped ahead to Ghostbusters 2 because I knew we were recording this. But I read a story somewhere once that basically someone had took over Universal or whoever had the rights, and they were friends with either Reitman or somebody at Columbia, and they were shooting the climactic scene, and dude gets on the phone. He's like, "I've got 1,000 extras on the streets of New York shouting Ghostbusters. You have to let me use this." And the person on the other end was like, "Okay, fine. You can have the rights."
Wow.
So,
Amazing.
yeah. Back in the old days when everybody was friends. You know?
Yeah, just pick up the phone and call somebody. Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was. I remember that's the other thing. Every once in a while, like this is back in the day of TV Guide, right? You're like, "What's on?" "Oh, Ghostbusters." "It's the bad Ghostbusters." So the cartoon starred someone named Pat Fraley and Peter Cullen.
Of course, because Peter Cullen was in every pretty much.
Yeah, I don't know if that
Kids
meant they
show.
were also in the TV show. They looked like they might have been. So
Yeah,
the live
so they
action.
they did an animated show in the mid '80s when Ghostbusters got big because they wanted to cash in on the name.
Yeah.
And I watched that show too for that reason. And then watched it a few episodes. I'm like, no, this is not Ghostbusters, and so stopped watching it. So it didn't last very long. It was interesting, but it wasn't Ghostbusters.
I'm looking at some stills here. The face animation is surprisingly good.
Yeah, I mean, they put a lot of money into it. I mean, it's the same. They did Masters of the Universe, so it's the same kind of art team and
That's
design.
funny.
So
I just got to a still of a guy who is blatantly Adam
Yes,
AKA
I'm sure they
He-Man.
reused. They must have reused
Yeah.
some animation cells and
Yeah.
did everything to cut down costs. So, but it's basically the same team that did Master Universe did that as well.
I mean, I dare I say, I kind of wish the Ghostbusters movie had a giant gorilla in it. Or I guess he's
Like
an
a
average.
Gorilla Grodd kind
I
of
guess
thing.
he's an average sized gorilla. He's not a giant gorilla. He's a very normal sized gorilla. All right. Well, okay. So yeah, April Fools. We are not, in fact, doing the Ghostbusters TV shows. We are going to go back to where we talk about our favorite independent B movies, obscure movies that you haven't heard of that we think deserve a look.
Yeah. But this is something we want to do once in a while, where we take a bigger movie, maybe once every 10 episodes or so, if only so people will actually listen.
Yes.
Because people talking about a movie people have heard of and seen as opposed to something they never heard of and will never watch. So.
Right. So assuming we get through another 9 episodes, you just might get a very special episode of No Really Trust Us. Until then, thanks for listening. Tune in next week when we go back to a obscure movie you haven't heard of that we hope you'll like. Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening. If you've got a movie that you love and you think more people should know about, drop us a line at noreallytrustus@gmail.com or on Instagram at noreallytrustus. Don't forget to rate and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.